Hello everyone and welcome to Games, Comics and Crafts.
In this series of videos, I'll be looking at the Judge Dredd case files in order and picking out the most prominent and important stories, as well as noting some artists and writers that actually appear in these books.
Okay, so this is volume 32 of the complete case files, and I believe it's the first time we've actually had text on any of the covers. I think later on there's a few more, but this time it was a Henry Flint cover. Anyway, so this one, yeah, not too bad. There's definitely some decent stuff in it. There's some stuff that I really like, and then stuff that's like, okay, fair enough. So start off with this one, and the reason this one is decent is this is Judge Rico. So it turns out that the clones that were transported to Texas City in Destiny's Angel, one of them was returned, or at least some of them returned, and it's a clone of Dredd. And basically, this is him getting his full badge by being under Dredd's tutelage. Now, I don't think I read this when it first came out. And I know definitely got issues of Necropolis back in the day very sporadically. And I think because I wasn't subscribed at that point in time, so I was just getting whatever was on the shelf at the time. So I assumed when Rico shows up later on that that was just Kraken with a new name. I didn't realise it was a completely new character, or, well, a clone of a character anyway. So it's nice to see kind of this actually filling some of those blanks. The interesting thing about this is that's Dredd, and that's the original Rico. As far as I know, that is the only time we've ever seen Dredd without a helmet on. We see him obviously in Tales of the Dead Man, but his face is mangled. We see him a little bit later on in, I think actually funny enough, the newest issue of 2008 that came out last week. He's not got a helmet in that, but you can only see his face in shadow. But never a full up front shot like that. Never seen that before. So that's interesting and strange. Anyway, so yeah, so Rico goes through all the system, and shockingly enough, he gets kind of the go ahead. Love this. We get a flashback to Dredd and Rico's kind of standoff, where Rico is basically wheeling in all of the, doing all the black market stuff and becoming corrupt. And we've got the original design for the helmet that was in 2000 AD. I think that's excellent. Someone's really thought about it. So obviously it does suggest to me that those helmet designs actually did change as Justice Department issue rather than just being redrawn. So I like that. So yeah, so that's pretty good. Next one is Pyrokinesis, which is Arthur Ranson artwork. So this is quite interesting. She's effectively a psi auxiliary that can start fires, and they need her to help out, which is, again, didn't know that was a thing, but it kind of makes sense. Basically, they've got a meeting with a load of criminals, and she wants them to basically start a fire inside that and there, and then they can, as they kind of come fleeing out, they can be captured. Unfortunately, her concentration keeps getting interrupted, and she starts starting minor fires in the place she is. So yeah, all in all, quite a good story. Not too bad at all. Survivor Types is about a group of people that go to the Undercity as a expedition, and it doesn't go particularly well for them. Slow Crime Day is about this guy who basically gets, well, not exactly victimized because he has got some things wrong with him, but basically gets crime blitzed and all this kind of stuff because there's nothing going on in the sector at that point in time. That's not too bad. There's Lynham story is a very British story, which is basically about a group of spontaneous commentators that all based around English football commentators, and they just basically commentate over what Dredd's doing for the entire episode. But no one says remarkable, which is a thing that I can't remember his name now. Jimmy Hill, we used to say. We've got they think it's all over. Yeah, it's okay, but we're not remarkable. Yeah, that was quite good. Anyway, copycat crime. Oh, yeah. This is about some clones that apparently are committing crimes because they've all been claimed by the same person. Oh, look, this is really, really nice. That's a few mistakes. I mean, there should be a chest on that, but it's nice, big, chunky art. It's quite cool. Then we get this one, which is again, I think we don't get names on these. They say again, I don't know if they must have changed the presentation in 2008, but a lot of these don't have names and actual kind of credits until we go for this one. Anyway, this one is about a Dredd basically victimising this couple from Britsit, and it turns out they are undercover judges and they are trying to get rid of the Block Mafia. That's pretty decent. There's some nice callbacks to some earlier stuff as well, and it goes on for quite some time, but it kind of shows the futility of wiping this crime out because it all becomes the void's kind of filled up by somebody else as it goes along. So that's pretty cool. This one's weird. This is about Judge Dredd going to the loo, and a load of bad guys basically try to take him out, and it doesn't work. We've seen that before. We've done the bath already, so that's fine. Okay. New model Ford is about these little blobby things that apparently are effectively punch bags, and they scream and they shout and they sell them over so that people could take their frustrations out on them and don't cause any violent crime and all this kind of stuff. And it's apparently the crime statistics say, oh yeah, violent crime's down by 80% in this sector and all this kind of stuff as well. And they've got this stuff. Unfortunately, that doesn't go particularly well because it turns out they can actually eat people. And then when they go to the factory's out in the cursed earth. This massive one basically starts chewing through everything and causing lots of issues. So yeah, that's not too bad. This one's really, really good. Unless I'm mistaken, this is Cam Kennedy. So these are about a group of sky sort of surfers called the Rebs. Anyway, all they do round is smash up Justice Department surveillance cameras, and one of them takes a kid on her back, and they have to kind of Dredd's actually good enough to not to shoot the person. It's like, no, you can't shoot. That kid's innocent. It can't do this kind of stuff as well. But there's a excellent couple of lines in here where they basically say that the Justice Department, if they wanted to, the Justice Department could make cameras the size of pinheads, but they don't. They make these massive drones that you can see because they want you to know you are being watched. And I think it's a really cool thing. That's a really nice way to do it, seeing stuff. So the idea that that you're constantly aware of it because it's all around you, and that's we're getting there. But yeah, so that's not too bad. It goes on for a couple of issues, I believe, and that's probably one of the highlights for definite. Cube Life, I cannot even remember, so it can't have been that impressive. PJ Maybe is out, which is basically his escape from the cubes, which is fantastic because I love PJ Maybe, and any reason to get him out is really good. This one about a wrong apartment, which causes a load of problems for the people inside. The island is a kind of another undercity kind of thing where people are trying to make it through. That's all right, nothing special. This one is about Mrs. Gunderson again and her guy playing Judge Death, and he goes a bit mad again. And for some reason, I'm not quite sure. Mean Machine Angel, I think, has escaped. Did they say something about being escaped? I think he's either pretending to be a judge or whatever. Basically, somebody makes his way back to there, and Walt the Robot's there, and Mean's going all this kind of stuff as well. And there's another guy that's trying to poop out a big explosive because he's and it's just a weird collection of stuff. That's not too bad. Oh, this is the weird one. Yeah, this is the strange. Again, this is very similar to the one with the Dread in the Loo. It's got some people taking some drugs, and it's just got they're called FX, I think it is, and they basically just see hallucinations and stuff going on. It's fine. More PJ Maybe stuff, where unless I'm very much mistaken, this sets up for where he is later on. He ends up in Banana City, and I think he becomes mayor of Banana City at some point. It's got a very, very cool way how he managed to avoid being captured. This one is about a citizen that believes he is cursed, and every time he has a kid, every time some of his parents have had children, the parents have been killed. So when he finds out his girlfriend's pregnant, it's like, okay, no, we can't be doing that. And it turns out there's some kind of weird alien trying to erase the coming back from the like time traveling back from the past, trying to erase his timeline. So, but every time a kid's born, he has to wait till he's grown up and have another child to make sure that it's very confusing because I don't know how that works. Because surely, if the child was destroyed or removed, then that would stop it straight away. So I don't know how that works. Why he waits, don't know. But it does very much remind me of the Inquisitor episode of Red Bull. So that's interesting. This again. So this is the crazy thing. We get some really nice Dredd stuff. There's some, say the stuff that's coming up in a little while. It's fantastic. And then we get this one about a guy farting on the tube and basically causing a stink. And there's a judge on there, and it's like, well, you can't do anything about it, I'm afraid. Flatulence is in the Olympics now, so it's not a crime to do it. And then this guy gets arrested anyway. Nonsense. It's a shame. Again, it's kind of, it's not quite satire. I don't know. It's just, not, it doesn't seem to be a particularly good use of ages. This one's quite bad, where basically every time this guy goes across, uh, he's protecting. I don't want to spoil the plot line because it's particularly good, but that's not too bad. There's a massive thing about that's where the cover comes from. Like, they're basically eliminating every threat to escort this guy across for a good reason. So that's pretty cool. And now we get to the best. So Rico has established himself. So he's now transferred to Sector 108. And basically he starts wheeling out all this stuff that seems to be not quite right. So there's a guy that's got a key that says don't need a key. Keys are for secrets. Just judges shouldn't have secrets. And he basically goes to Dredd, and Dredd tells him you need to go and talk to the person in charge of the sector because you can't go around the head. We've got the guy from PSU there that's doing the monitoring. He can't wait to basically get his hooks onto some kind of another conspiracy. And again, it's not a complete sequel to the Sector 300 stuff, but at least there's threads going through it, and I love the way we see a lot more Rico in this than we do actually Dredd. But it's very, very good. And it all seems to be that it's like they've all that stuff, the Fart Olympics and all this kind of stuff. It's like, right, we need to kill time. Square's going to do this really cool storyline, but he's going to be a little while to take it, and it's going to be like 7 issues long, whatever it is. We need to give him time to do it. Okay, just fill it with any other shite. Don't worry about it. We'll get rid of all the good stories, and it kind of pays off because at the end of the book, you kind of go, there's not much in this one, and then you get this, and you think, okay, this is really good. So I love this. I love this whole thread, the 300 stuff, the PSU stuff, Edgar and all this kind of stuff. Edgar's even mentioned all this kind of stuff as well, and it still hasn't come to kind of a complete conclusion. But yeah, excellent stuff. Very, very good. And then that's it for 2000 AD. Then we've got a 10 years thing about this kid who's a mutant. He's been hiding in a block for 10 years and not been released, and that's okay. And I'm assuming it's for the 10th anniversary for Magazine, but I could be wrong. But you can, again, it's quite funny because you can almost immediately tell 2000 AD to Magazine artwork. It immediately goes straight into paint stuff. And again, like I said before, I'm not particularly fond of a lot of the paint stuff. Jimping's pretty good, where basically a guy is impersonating a judge, but he's doing it kind of for the right reasons. He basically wants to be a judge, but he just takes it a little bit too over the board, and they have to try and figure out who he is and all this kind of stuff. So that was really good. And that actually runs for a few issues, and it's not a kind of a one and done, ha ha ha, isn't it funny kind of thing. It's actually a pretty decent, kind of gives the bad guy good reason, and there's actually investigation, all this kind of stuff as well. And then we get to this one, which I do not like at all, which is a shame because it is John Higgins artwork, and I love John Higgins artwork. This basically is about a guy that is apparently writing Judge Dredd's story, and Dredd finds him, and he realizes that Dredd's been written, and he can make Judge Dredd appear out of nowhere and all this kind of stuff. And it turns out that it's a fault in the sleep machine. So Dredd's having this nightmare. So basically, they're kind of saying, Dredd, you need to wake up. There's a fault. So he's kind of like realizing if he beats the guy down, he can kind of wake up. And then they go and ruin it by basically saying, oh, look, it's actually in the magazine. Oh, what's next doing? Hate it. Fourth wall stuff has to be done really, really well, unless otherwise I hate it. Purely because of the fact of it robs the kind of the seriousness and the kind of the actual meaningfulness of the storylines. Because if you can just say, oh look, Dredd's in trouble, but don't worry because this guy can write his own story and Dredd can just pop out of it. Hate it. That's why I don't like Deadpool. That's why I don't like bloody other stuff. I know in Animal Man wasn't too bad. They did it in Zatanna on the last miniseries, and I didn't see what the point of that was at all because it didn't make any sense. Cannot stand the idea that Superboy Prime now can read his own comics and this, don't like it. It just ruins the universe for me. The idea is as soon as you make it like, hey, all this is just fictional. What's the point in that? You wouldn't do it in a novel. You wouldn't do it in a TV series. In a series. Can you imagine a blooming something like Dallas back in the day, and it's go, that's okay. This is all fiction. We can do what we want. And he just walks through a door and he's a light. Okay, they did. But anyway, don't like it. Not a fan at all. And as soon as they did this, it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of shy. And then we get some really nice covers. We get a nice episode 1 kind of parody. This weird short thing again. The idea you've got Dredd on the bog as your cover, really strange. But I remember that this is the era that I kind of checked out on a lot of stuff. I was only reading little bits. This is the same era of the what we see before, where it's kind of become less metal and more mainstream, in my opinion. But yeah, so yeah, all in all, though, not a bad collection. But that Esquerra Rico story really makes up for it. Really, really good. And again, if you're listening to these videos and you're kind of just following the idea of getting that Sector 300 stuff, and I'd definitely suggest picking, even just if you're not going to pick all of them up, pick those ones up and read through those because generally you're not missing much in between. But the ones that are actually involved that are fantastic. So there you go. Anyway, I think that's enough rambling for now. So thanks for listening, and hopefully I will see you on another video very, very soon. Bye bye.